I'm bored, let's watch The Critical Drinker. You ever notice how some online critics stop being critics the second a woman, a queer person, or anything vaguely progressive enters the conversation? Suddenly, it's not about the art anymore. It's about feminism, gay activism, activism in general, and whatever other grievance they've been dying to drag into the room. That is exactly what happens in the video we're going to watch today from The Critical Drinker. The title of this video is When Playing the Victim is All You Have. Let's get into it.
It's the kind of insulting thing, because I think Maggie Gyllenhaal has basically said explicitly she has Mary Shelley's character say, like, the story I couldn't tell. And I think she's confirmed in interviews, she's like, she wanted to imagine the kind of story Mary Shelley would have been able to tell were it not for the societal conventions that oppressed her. Which is like, but I think you fundamentally misunderstand who she was. I don't think you've actually read the book she wrote.
So what do we got here? Straw man, poisoning the well, mind reading, all of the above. Let's continue.
Or anything that she wrote, never mind just the works of fiction. She did that. That was what Frankenstein already was. It was already bold and daring and innovative, both versions, even the slight, because you have the 1818 one, which is very sort of, it's like the Byronic era, it's the Romantic period, it's very centered on individual choices, agency, the things people do, which to a degree they are dictated by the society in which they live. And she mounts several very potent, not always correct, but very powerful critiques of the society in which she lived. She wasn't constrained from doing that at the time. Then 1831 is like, it tries to blend more of that Enlightenment rationalism and almost fatalism, some of the like personal choices de-emphasized, and it's very much about how mechanistic determinism seems to predetermine certain choices. But again, still bold, revolutionary, because then you're sort of trying to counter the preconceived ideas of what morality even is. Very, very revolutionary stuff. There's a reason the book has resonated throughout history for such a very long time. She wasn't stopped from doing any of this.
So this is like a fake binary. Either Mary Shelley wrote something bold or she was constrained by society. And this is dumb on purpose. Make no mistake. A woman can create something bold and still live under social constraints. Those are not mutually exclusive unless your brain runs on expired anti-feminist blog posts. Maggie's premise is artistic. What else might Shelley have wanted to explore, especially around the bride figure and silenced womanhood? That's a creative question, not a courtroom statement done under oath. The LA Times interview literally quotes Maggie by saying, "I just had this fantasy. I'm not speaking for Mary Shelley," before wondering what else Shelley might have wanted to express.
Now along comes Maggie Gyllenhaal saying, oh, well, if she was free, she might have been able to write something brilliant like The Bride. Fuck off. What are you talking about?
I want to know what Mary Shelley thinks of this movie. So we'll go find her, dig her up.
Oh, God, she'd be spinning in her grave so hard you could turn her into a dynamo and power the east coast of America. Like, Jesus. It is depressing. I do have that Maggie Gyllenhaal interview here, actually, the one that Platoon referenced earlier. And it's fun, actually, for a little bit of, how do you even describe it? Classic Hollywood delusion. Let's just see what she's got to say about this.
About this moment, because on the one hand, we've had all these interesting, films come out just this year. Chloe Zhao with Hamnet, Lynn Ramsey with Die My Love, Kristen Stewart with The Chronology of Water.
Everyone watched that classic, The Chronology of Water by Kristen Stewart. I hope you did.
No.
I'm sure it was definitely worth everyone's time.
But on the other hand, there's only 8% of films that were made by women. Mm-hmm. And that's a 7-year low. Mm. I mean, what do you think that says?
I'm thinking about whether to say this.
Say it.
I think that it's fine. Like when we make little movies, cute, or like go make your little movie. It starts to get dangerous when women have their hands on a lot of money.
I mean, I'm sorry, I do have to stop it there for a moment.
It's pretty accurate.
Didn't that happen multiple times with Marvel? They just gave like hundreds of millions of dollars to women who had never directed movies before, and then they lost hundreds of millions of dollars.
They had directed movies, but generally like small indie movies. Like Chloe Zhao was a good example where she'd done like Nomadland, which was like.
I think it's really interesting that this standard isn't applied to men. It's just applied to women. That's the point that's being made here. I did a little research here. And the 8% line they were talking about in the interview, the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative found that only 8.1% of directors in the top 100 grossing films of 2025 were women. Other industry reporting also found that women made up just 13% of directors on the top 250 films of 2025, with overall numbers staying stubbornly low for decades. So, yeah, I mean, and at this point, we're talking about women and money. It's not critiquing the movie anymore. They're doing women are dangerous with budgets now. It's old-fashioned sexism, okay? Like, don't let your wife use the checkbook. Don't give her the credit card. It's not even a critique of one director or one production decision. It's just a smear campaign about women handling major films. And the available industry data does not support some tinfoil hat thesis that women fail because they are women. That's the important distinction. I know a lot of you guys like to jump in the comments and go, they don't hate women. But the framing here is that women are bad with money. In fact, how would we know? Because the data we just looked at, the data point we just looked at and we were discussing shows that women are still severely underrepresented in these jobs in the first place. So how do we know how well they would do when they're given so little space in the industry? Make it make sense.
Like a no-budget Z-list picture, which was essentially just a woman driving around in her van and talking to people. It was a perfectly fine movie. It did well at the Oscars, though, and so Chloe Zhao suddenly became like a perfect candidate for Marvel's diversity program, because it's like you've got an award-winning director. She did well at the Oscars and stuff. She's a woman and she's ethnically diverse. Perfect. Let's put her in charge of like a $250 million ensemble superhero movie and just expect her to pull something together. And the result was The Eternals, a complete disaster, because the director got lost in the product. Because you can't go from a little low budget indie flick to a massive action heavy superhero movie and expect to be able to transition. That doesn't work like that.
Okay, we're going to pause there for a second. I got a lot to say here. This segment here is so full of selective framing and bullshit certainty. They're using Chloe as proof that women are hired for identity reasons and thrown into jobs that they can't handle. That's a neat story, but it's also not supported. Chloe did come from lower budget work into Eternals, but she was not a random diversity hire. She wasn't some intern. She had already made No Man Land, which won Best Picture and Best Director at the Oscars. But that still doesn't make it amateur hour. Eternals ended with $402 million roughly worldwide in the box office specifically. We're not talking about ancillary money that it made. So it's not a smashing triumph, but not proof that Chloe is incapable of directing a studio film because she's a woman. But the thing I really love about these guys in this argument is that a male director can have one flop after another, and it's always the studio system failed him or Hollywood is the enemy. But a woman gets a mixed or compromised blockbuster, and suddenly it's like, look, women can't control the checkbook. Women are incapable of doing X, Y, Z. That's what it always runs into. I also want to add, calling Chloe a diversity hire, a diversity pick, after she won an Oscar for directing is some truly desperate copium from these guys. Let's continue.
But they didn't care because I think as Gary describes it, like this is a process of casting directors instead of hiring them. They just fill a role rather than actually like having any kind of artistic merit of their own.
Oh my God, I have to pause again so soon. This is just a giant claim with zero evidence, as per Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker and what they do. It's a hell of an accusation, I have to say, to make about directors with major awards, acclaimed features, established careers, no artistic merit of their own. This isn't criticism. It's just a spiteful comment about Chloe and basically any woman that's put in this position. Let's continue.
They get absorbed into the system. They're Their
my
product gets
God.
forced through the Marvel machine, and then you get a movie at the end of it. They're just there to put their name on it. And yeah, they did that multiple times. Like, what was the woman who directed Black Widow? It was Kate.
Oh, I know what you're talking about,
Shortland.
yeah.
Kate
Kate
Shortland.
Shortland.
Again, a director with some experience, but it was all just low budget, small movies, you know,
And
dramas.
And she's a woman, right? And she's a woman. So it doesn't matter what criteria she might have had prior. You guys know that she's a woman, and therefore that equals risky and bad. That's the conversation we're having here. So it doesn't matter what the accolades, and we've already established that Chloe has plenty of stuff behind her to prove that she's capable of doing the job. But none of that matters to them because they'll make excuses for that at every turn. So it doesn't matter whether Kate had 1 million blockbuster hits. It doesn't matter. They would find a way to say the same thing because Kate is a woman.
Sort of thing. You can't then put someone like that in charge of like a
of course
$200 million
Of course you can't.
espionage superhero flick
Right.
and expect her to be able to make sense of it. That
How
doesn't
does
work
your
like that.
movie, Drinker? How was yours?
It'd be like putting
How good was it?
Well, it'd be like putting like a yacht skipper in charge of a super tanker or
Of
a
course.
aircraft carrier and saying like,
Right.
right, go, just do it. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know what you're saying? You're saying it's a tiny percentage, but look at how many of those movies were movies that made an impact. Like if you've had your mouth shut for so long, almost like a geyser, like having your hand on something. Well, when it bursts, it's going to come out really powerfully and with a lot of energy. And
I mean, again, I could be wrong. I don't get the impression that, say, women in Hollywood are necessarily told to shut their mouths and not speak up. I get the impression they do the opposite nowadays.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He gets the impression. Okay, fantastic. Meanwhile, actual reporting says that women directed only 8.1% of the top 100 films of 2025 and just 13% of the top 250. But sure, let's all gather around the altar of your impression, Critical Drinker. You literally just heard them talk about the percentages just a couple minutes ago. But now you're saying, oh, no. I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like it's the total opposite. Holy fuck.
And they have done for quite a few years now.
But counterpoint, all of the female characters in The Bride did have to do that, which I think is the point that she wants to make. She's decided that that's the way that women in all walks of life have to behave, I guess.
I mean, if that's her perspective, then fair enough. It's just when we look at the landscape of Hollywood and what you hear from the public point of view, it seems to be the exact opposite. But it's like,
Oh my God, again with this. So what they're doing here, how can I put this? They are confusing online discourse with like actual systemic's not the word, actual structural equality. You keep doing this thing where visibility gets treated as power. Seeing women speak more publicly and more openly does not mean the industry is suddenly equal. Again, we just looked at the numbers earlier. They talked about the numbers earlier. You guys just completely overlooked it, I guess. But yeah, like waving a magic wand and making everything equal because some people online are talking differently. That's not the same thing unless your political education comes from Twitter and YouTube thumbnails. It's like the recent studies show that women remain underrepresented behind the camera. And that progress has been flat or inconsistent for decades. You just mentioned that it's at a 7-year low right now. So I don't know why you keep pretending that what she's saying doesn't make sense when they discussed it at the beginning of this clip and you guys didn't really respond to it. It's just really fucking weird.
I don't know. Either she doesn't care or perhaps lives in a bubble where that doesn't exist. Or, like, according to my theory, like she's actually been cryogenically frozen since about 2017 and is just not
right.
aware of anything that's happened in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I think that's equally plausible at this point.
It's also just a failure to update your assumptions, because the problem is most activist people of virtually every persuasion have this same problem. Like, so many of the things that they complain about were solved 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. You have the same thing with like LGBT activists, and the same thing with feminist activists as well.
What? So now you've left film criticism and you're in like grievance territory. Like you're pulling up old shit and you're laying it out on the table. You know, we started this video with Mary Shelley, and now somehow gays and feminists are catching strays because the dudes on this podcast can't go 10 minutes without turning culture into some sort of hostage situation. The idea that LGBTQ people haven't really had to do that or hadn't faced real struggles for decades is ahistorical nonsense. The Supreme Court's Bostock decision protecting LGBTQ plus workers under federal sex discrimination law was only in 2020. That's when this happened. And major legal and administrative fights over LGBTQ plus protections in employment, housing, healthcare, and education are still ongoing in many states. The ACLU explicitly notes that these protections, the ones that we have in some places and we're fighting for them in other places, remain contested and vulnerable to rollback, meaning that ones that we already have that have not been codified or locked in by the federal government could still be taken away. So miss me with this, oh, things were changed 50s and 60 years ago. No, that's just bullshit. It's bullshit from these guys.
Their entire reason for being, like, all of their frame of reference, to be a bold visionary, to be a radical, to be a revolutionary who makes positive social change, you have to be able to upset the norm in which you live. You have to be able to make an impact. You have to subvert. You have to... And there was once a time when that was useful and valuable, and it created some really, really brilliant stories because there was actually something to be attacked. So there was a position that you had to take. It took some courage and it took some imagination, and you had to be able to tell a brilliant story that would resonate with people in order partly to convince them. But you haven't really had to do that as a gay person or as a woman for at least 30 years, more like 60 realistically. But
what? This is the most obviously bullshit line I've heard so far in this video. I'm sorry, but did you just say that gay people and women haven't had to fight for anything in 30 to 60 years? That is not an analysis. That's essentially historical malpractice on a podcast. Some facts over here. In the U.S., the Supreme Court only recognized marriage equality in 2015. I was fighting for marriage equality in my state and federally just a decade ago. It's only been about a decade. We're not going to go over it again, but 8.1% women in the director's chair. So apparently sexism and homophobia ended sometime around the first Clinton administration. Damn, I wish I would have known that. I wish I would have been aware of that as a gay person. All that fighting I was doing in the 2000s, completely unnecessary. This is just flat out misinformation, historical erasure, overgeneralization, and lies. It's just lies. These guys are pathetic.
Their ideal for what the purpose of their art is still the same. We have to be revolutionary. Against what are you revolting? Kind of nothing. And so she says, well, when you've been denied a voice for so long, the pressure builds up, which is an analogy that works just as well with a toilet U-bend as it does with a geezer. But then what does she have to say?
Both
when her
are full
mouth
of
is
shit, ultimately.
Yeah, they are. But when she's finally allowed to open her mouth, what does she have to say? And the answer is nothing, as is evidenced by the bride, because there's nothing to be rebelling against. She won. Women are you have diversity quotas mandating 50% of women on virtually every corporate board.
Evidence? This is another massive sweeping claim with no context, no evidence, no relevance to whether Maggie's artistic premise has merit. Also, did you notice the pivot? We were supposedly talking about movies, and suddenly he's ranting about corporate boards. Because these guys only have about 6 culture war talking points, and they use them for everything over and over and over again. Even if we were discussing corporate board quotas in some jurisdictions, I guess, That would not prove women have achieved cultural equality in film, nor would it prove feminist themes in art are obsolete. It has no bearing on any of the substance of the video clip they're watching or artistic discussion about the film itself. It has nothing to do with that. Let's continue.
Like, what more do you need to achieve?
Oh.
Because there isn't anything they're really trying to achieve. They're just trying to larp the same revolutionary struggles that their ancestors rightly had to fight. They're just left in this weird, awkward position where, as she's sitting here now, trying desperately to justify her own existence and being completely unable to do so. She's in this position now because she already won that fight, or people better than her won that fight. And now she's trying to live up to them, and there's nothing left to do.
Is this little platoon? What an idiot. I bet he sounds really intelligent to a bunch of dumb people. His line, "there's nothing left to do," is so stupid. It is so stupid. It almost rebuts itself. Yeah, there's nothing left to do. That's why people are still arguing about reproductive rights, workplace rights, LGBTQ plus protections, pay equity, representation, harassment, access to jobs and housing. Totally wrapped up here. Good work, everyone. There's nothing left to do. Again, we don't have to go over all of the other information I provided previously because I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point. But what he's doing here is a false conclusion. It's a false conclusion. And it's just ignoring any contrary evidence at all. But these guys aren't looking up evidence. They just get on camera behind these cartoon avatars and talk shit about people.
Scathing.
Wonder if what's happening culturally is gonna okay, I will say one thing about this. It's gonna bring like an unstoppable response, maybe especially from women.
It's going to be unstoppable, guys. Hold on to your hats. She's going to rock the world right now.
Say, and I don't know if I've said this out loud before.
The contempt for women is so severe with these guys. It is like, it's just completely, like, it's just layers and layers and layers of just looking down at women and then claiming that women have everything already. It's so old man coded. It's weird.
Again, maybe I'll get in trouble, but
This is when they do the classic, like, I might get in trouble for this. It might cost me opportunities, but I'm going to bash the orange man.
Is she about to say something that 99% of Hollywood would agree with?
Well, hold on and let's just find out, shall we?
I actually think that when I really became a director was actually, I think, the first time that the morning that Trump was first elected. I think I was like, I have a lot more to say than I've been saying.
Interesting. Just laughing it up. This is where these guys are sort of acting like a director being politically galvanized by a major election is somehow funny and ridiculous. It's funny to them. It's ha ha ha. You know why? Because a lot of these guys don't even live in this country. So to them, it doesn't fucking matter at all. But also because if they did live in this country, they wouldn't suffer any of the repercussions of having someone like Donald Trump as president. And also, side note, artists have been reacting to politics for centuries. That's just what they do. Let's continue.
Oh, God, it's amazing.
But what? What do you
Stunning,
have
so
to say?
brave.
Why?
It would be like me going online and saying, look, I know this is going to be controversial. I know I'm probably going to lose followers for this, but chocolate biscuits are really tasty and nice.
Well, when you're already a piece of shit and the people that support you are okay with you being a piece of shit, then there's nothing you can say to lose them unless you say something positive or helpful. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're putting some sort of like genuine good vibes out there in the world, some energy, some effort, something like that, they don't expect you to say anything good because they already know that you're a piece of shit. So there's no disclaimer needed.
It's such a shitty, like, you know, Hollywood leftist starter pack comment to make. And like,
Oh my God. Again, so much contempt. This time it's contempt replacing any thoughts in his head. There's no real engagement, just Hollywood leftist starter pack.
pretended like it's this bold statement that like, ooh, it could get me in trouble. It's
Yeah,
really
real
brave of me to
boldness
do this.
is declaring that you hate onions. All right, that's where the real boldness is.
Hey, Rags is entitled to go full retard on that one. It's fine.
Oh, Arsler,
You know,
ding, ding, ding. And every
what you
video,
can offer
I just want to
is-
point out, I've watched so many of these videos over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Every single one of them, whether it's 5 minutes or 12 minutes or 20 minutes, there's an Arsler in there somewhere. Always. It's like their vocabulary is so limited that that's the only insult they know how to give is Arsler. It's pretty crazy.
You know, educated dissertation and critique involving history and references. I will instead offer a Simpsons reference. Okay, where
Equally valid, Mueller.
do you remember the Halloween episode where all the mascots come alive and start killing everybody? And
Yes.
Marge says if Homer just gives Lard his donut back, it'll end the horror. And it doesn't, it just amplifies it. He starts destroying houses with the donut. And then Homer, like, you see that for a while. He even kicks the dog and it goes flying across the screen. And Homer just turns to Marge and goes, do you ever get tired of being wrong all the time? Which
I just love when people like this pad a bad argument with a pop culture reference, which is what a lot of them do. They're using pop culture to dress up a bad take. That's all they're doing. So it's not criticism. It's not factual. It's just referential thing. Ha, 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 ha. We're going to put it on top of our existing bad take. Doesn't make your bad take any better.
I wonder if Maggie's ever heard that said.
It's I mean, it's funny to watch interviews like that now in 2026. You know, like I said before, it just feels that whole mindset is just like this weird throwback to a different era of Hollywood. Because even they, I think, have realized that you have to move on from that and like just trying to blame the orange man for like everything, or say like, oh, this evil character in my movie is like a stand-in for him and what he represents. It's like, yeah, that's kind of played out now. We need a new angle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That line is revealing. So you're not saying, and I'm bringing this up for anybody that might be tuning in for the first time. I'm very aware of the injection of their political leanings into their content. Let's back it up a bit. So the line is revealing because you're not saying that politics and art is wrong. You're saying that this particular part of politics feels played out to you. So it's taste. It's not truth. It's not fact. It's just personal taste. So that's the real complaint. So not that political art shouldn't exist, just that you guys are bored with the Trump stuff, the MAGA stuff, those talking points. So that's a preference. That's not you revealing some big insidious motivation within Hollywood. It's not a critique. It is literally just your preference, which is subjective, and you're allowed to have that, but it doesn't mean that you have stumbled into some revealing thing that's going on behind the scenes. It's just not. You're conflating your own personal fatigue with objective invalidity. Let's continue.
But it's like she's just, waiting right in there. Like, fuck it. I'm gonna just go for it. Why not? It's impressive, if nothing else.
It's so stereotypical of a woman to think of something that happened 10 years ago for a thing that's happening now, to make it relevant to a thing that's happening now. That's what women do. It's boggling, really.
Okay, so fully mask off. We have gone from fake literary criticism to straight up, that's what women do. So a good way to wrap up the video, considering where we started and where we are. If anyone was wondering whether or not any of this is really about the movies, it's not. It's about having contempt for women dressed up as commentary. And before anybody jumps in the comments is like, well, a woman is saying that. I don't know if this person is a woman. They look like a sandwich on my screen. But even if they are, you can be part of a marginalized community and still have bad takes and still feed into the supremacy that pushes those communities down. That's the reality of it.